Continuing in our Connect to Congress initiative with U.S. Congressman Darin LaHood of Illinois' 18th District, getting straight to it, Congressman, I'd like to get your thoughts on what former FBI Director James Comey said in his new book, specifically about President Donald Trump being, quote, not morally fit to be president.
Well, I think that James Comey wants to sell books. I think that's what this is all about. I think that, you can say a lot of different things that are going to help you sell that book. So we got to remember he's on a book tour. Having said that, listen, I have respect for James Comey as our FBI director, as a former federal prosecutor, as the former U.S. attorney. I think he served this country well, but I think you have to put it in context of what what Mr. Comey is trying to do, and that's trying to sell a book. Separate from the book, obviously, Mr. Mueller has his investigation going. That will be the focus moving forward. Let's find out where the facts and evidence are pertaining to the allegations that Russians were involved with the election. I think that needs to be the focus.
And what are your thoughts on the administration's response over the weekend to the chemical warfare attacks in Syria? And what do you feel is the next step?
Well, I think Assad clearly is a dictator and a thug. And if you look at the criminal pattern that he is engaged in, he gassed his people last year. The president responded by bombing at that time. There has to be consequences to his actions. We cannot let this continue to go on. So I was very happy that we partnered with the British and the French, and we had this attack on Syria. But we have to remember Iran and Russia are complicit also, because Assad is in power because of them, and we have to hold them accountable. I give Nikki Haley, our ambassador at the UN, a lot of credit for asking for further sanctions against the Russians. I think that has to be on the table. But we have to send a message that's clear to Assad that this type of behavior will not be tolerated. And I think the president, rightly so, has said there'll be further military action if this is not stopped.
A lot of Americans believe Congress should work more in a bipartisan way. I'd like to hear your take on bipartisanship right now in the current Congress.
Well, last week I did a bipartisan event in my district with Rajana Krishnamurthy. He's a Democrat who's originally from Peoria. We did a bipartisan event on talking about how we can work together. Listen, I'm a Republican, he's a Democrat. We both have our strong views, but there are many issues that we can work together on. That doesn't always get played up in the press, but issues like infrastructure, that's a bipartisan issue. Having common sense immigration, that can be a bipartisan issue. Workforce development, career technical education, that's clearly an issue that we've worked together on. And fixing the institution of Congress. My proposal, the Congress of Tomorrow, that looks at how we change Congress, how we fix it, how we make it more effective, efficient, and accountable, is bipartisan. And so there are many issues that we work together on. And so we, a Democrat and a Republican, came together to talk about that in a town hall in Peoria. And I think that is good. The more we can do that, the better. And I think it's better for our democracy and healthy for our system of government.
The House will be voting on bills to reform the IRS this week. What are your thoughts on those measures?
Well, the IRS needs to be reformed. People complain every single week to my office about not getting the proper response from the IRS. And like anything in government, the IRS needs to change also. And so the bills that we've put forth, there's about 20 of them that'll be packaged together, really what I would call common sense reforms to the IRS. And they're bipartisan bills, too. The Ways and Means Committee that I serve on and the subcommittee on oversight is the genesis of these bills. What these bills will do will be help reform the IRS, make it more user-friendly, get rid of some of the bureaucracy there, make sure that we are helping businesses and taxpayers and getting them the answers they want, and also making sure they're being treated fairly. We also look at more transparency, look at more openness, and make sure that the IRS is doing all it can for our economy, but also for taxpayers. And so I'm hopeful we'll get that passed today, and we'll get it over to the Senate and hopefully get it to the president for a signature.
Congressman LaHood, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.